All right, how you guys doing today? So welcome back to another video lesson. I know you're all clamoring for the next lesson here. Today we're going to be solving quadratics again. This time we're going to use a new method to do it, which is called the quadratic formula. So in the last unit, which you guys just took a quiz on recently, we saw examples like this, x squared minus 5x minus 14, and we would try to figure out when that would equal to 0, where the zeros would exist. So what you guys did for those problems is you factored them, set it equal to 0, and found where it happened. And factoring is a great method. The problem with factoring is it's not always going to work. In this particular example, it actually does work, but I want to show you how to do this a different way that will always work. So although it will be quicker to factor this, bear with me today as I sort of go through with you what's called the quadratic formula. Now, I'm going to warn you the quadratic formula is going to seem a little bit complicated. It's going to take a little bit longer. So kind of bear with me through this example as we do it, and hopefully it will become more clear, because there are going to be a lot of examples that we're going to see in the very short future where factoring is not going to be an option for us. So the quadratic formula is another way that we can find roots, and this is what the quadratic formula is. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Now, some of you are probably sitting there shaking your head right now going, this seems way, way too complicated. I'm just going to remind you real quickly before we get into this of what our standard form for a quadratic is, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, which is equal to 0. So in this case, hopefully you can see my a is going to be 1, my b is going to be negative 5, and my c is going to be negative 14. So what we're going to do here is essentially just substitute those values into this formula. Now this formula is a little bit long here. You do not have to memorize this formula. It will be given to you, although I think many of you will have this memorized by the end. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in for b my negative 5. So I want negative b, so negative 5, which is going to be positive 5, plus or minus, we'll talk about what that plus or minus means in a couple minutes here, the square root of b squared, b here is negative 5 squared, minus 4, a is going to be 1, and c is negative 14. And this is all divided by 2, and my a here is 1. All right, so I'm going to try and take this in some steps here. Let's first, in our calculator, forget about the square root symbol. Let's just do negative 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. So in my calculator, I'm going to try and type this in. I'll show you guys so you can see it. So I'm forgetting about the square root sign for now. I'm going to do negative 5 squared minus 4 times 1. I don't really need that, but I'll put it in anyway, times negative 14. And I get a positive 81. So this is going to be x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 81 divided by 2. All right, now you guys know the square root of 81 is actually 9. So this is really x equals 5 plus or minus 9 divided by 2. Now here's where that plus and minus comes into play. We're going to end up with two different answers here. One of them is going to be 5 plus 9 divided by 2, The other one is going to be 5 minus 9 divided by 2. So we'll take it one at a time here. We're going to do the plus first. 5 plus 9 is 14 divided by 2. That's going to give me an answer of x equals 7. And now I'm going to use the minus sign. 5 minus 9, which is negative 4, divided by 2, can give me an answer of negative 2. So my two answers for this particular quadratic are x equals 7 and x equals negative 2. All right, now that was just one problem that we're doing here today. I know we're gonna need a lot of practice with this, but as you can tell, one problem can take a few minutes. So I don't wanna keep you here for another 10 minutes to do a couple more examples. So I'm gonna leave you here with just this one example here today. Probably the next video will include many more examples of this to sort of help clarify. So hopefully this gets you off to a good start with our quadratic formula, and I will see you again soon.